which is entitled Uneducated Parenting. That should be very interesting. Well, we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Does this sound familiar? Oh, what wonderful kids you have. Well, you did such a great job raising two delightful daughters. Can you explain to me how you get these two kids to be so delightful, so polite, so personal? Have these thoughts come to you at one time or another? My reaction is, I'm a little embarrassed. I know they're being polite, because we all have a bias. We know our kids are good. But it's nice to hear it from somebody more objectively. However, when you start hearing this repeatedly, over and over and over again, and it spreads, and the age of these people who are making these comments are getting older, and the kids are getting older, and you still hear it, then you say to yourself, I know my kids are good. I didn't think they were that good. But we don't know because we have not actually seen the reality of how they mix with other people. We only see them from our point of view. So I have to say with humility, when somebody asks me that question, or when or how did you raise these kids so nice, I have to say politely, I was lucky. Or my wife spent most of the time with the children, and she deserves most of the credit. And then I hear, well, all they do is talk about Dad and what he does, and they're even telling his jokes, which actually is really not in their best interest. And so I look and say to myself, am I lucky, or did the stork provide me with two angels with a lifetime guarantee? Neither of those would be very suitable. Here's the situation that I found myself in. I never really wanted to be a parent. I never really had a father figure. I have a wonderful dad, but we didn't really spend much time together. So the need for having kids beyond being married was really not that urgent for me. I found that perhaps I could take something that my parents left me, since I had no education in being a parent, no hands-on experience, no manuals that I read, and no desire to attend meetings of this kind. So my parents provided a very good source, but I'll tell you how. I learned mostly from the mistakes that were made by them and my own experiences. First, let me say this. I have wonderful parents. They provided me with so many different things that I'm thankful for. However, they made their share of mistakes. And can I be honest with you? I was an unhappy child. So I thought that, all right, if I ever have kids, I'm going to do things that my parents didn't do or omit things that they shouldn't have done. And perhaps, maybe I'll have a happier child. Perhaps one that may be even more successful. The new and improved Bob Glickman child. To borrow from Kellogg's and General Mills. However, I decided I had now a reason to become a parent. I had a motivation, and that was to provide my kids with a positive spin on how life works, how the world works, and perhaps I could do even a more improved job in terms of being a parent. So I came to the conclusion that there were 6 things that I felt was important to me. The number one and most important, I thought, was protecting one's self-esteem and confidence. Because when I was a child, I didn't get that positive feedback. I would say to my mom, this is my idea, and she would say back to me, oh, you're crazy.
No.
Or, you don't know anything, or even you're no good. And after 10 years, this kind of becomes very hard to repair, but you do so. So I found that self-esteem became something I wanted to develop, nurture, and protect the kids from, especially when they're in a state of misbehavior or hardships come to them. So that was number one. Number two, I thought that I would spend more time with my children, because communication was probably not a big thing between my father and myself. He was a wonderful dad, but he repressed his feelings, issues with his dad. And so we had very little to talk about. So he wouldn't say anything and I would respond in kind, and our favorite song was Sound of Silence. Now, the third thing related to that is find a way of communicating with your kids, even if all conventional things seem to fail. I'm reminded of a time when my littlest girl walked away from the dinner table in a huff. She went to her room, slammed the door, locked the door, and for the next 3 hours, we felt that there was a silent siege. No one could communicate with her. We tried, we begged, what's going on? So finally, I decided to write a letter. And I tucked it under her door. Lo and behold, half an hour later, I got another letter from her. And negotiations were continued. And things really worked out well. Okay. Now, the fourth thing that I would like to say is this. And this, to me, is probably one of the most important things. Have specific rules of engagement. Have boundaries. I didn't have those boundaries. If I misbehaved, my mom would admonish me, but that didn't matter. However, if I really misbehaved, my dad made sure that he was the enforcer. And I almost felt like it was a mafia type of approach. Because my mom would say, wait till your dad gets home. And then she would call him and lay out a contract. You know, I consider him the hitman, because that's what he would do when I got home. So, and I have to say that I deserved it. But I didn't find I learned a lot from that, and therefore I did not really use this with my children. Thank goodness. Now, always present yourself as a team. Even if you don't agree, present yourself as a team. Well, with my parents, one person was arguing against the other, and so I had a choice. And finally, 6, we show love and respect to each other instead of fighting. So I would have to say, if I had to write a book on parenting for dummies, look to the teachings of your parents and decide what you want to promote to ensure the happiness of your children. And you know what? I didn't do a bad job after all. Thank you for listening.